Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Planet Tyro podcast with your boy Don Wunder and the man with the most epic name of all time.
The Katface Killa.
And he says it with such a gentle, murderous the Katface Killa. He's a killer! He's gonna kill ya!
Most killers, from what I've seen, are supposed to be like calm, sociopathic.
Yeah, like that guy from that movie. What's that movie? That really popular.
Hannibal Lecter.
Nah, I like his swagger, but I'm talking
He's
about.
he is more emotional in the movies. I've been watching a TV series actually, and he's pretty stoic.
We'll get to that as well in future, people. Definitely Hannibal. But I was talking about that movie, No Country for Old Men. That serial insane guy.
Heads or tails?
Yeah, him. That crazy guy.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
But guess what, people? We're not here to talk about those shows.
What?
Nope. We're here to talk about a series that, guys, if you listen to our Game of Thrones podcast, where I went on a major ramble about how I feel Game of Thrones isn't that great anymore, and Catface is on the opposite side of the spectrum, he mentioned.
Yeah, you want to talk about a chaotic mess? That was your ramble.
Hey, you guys loved it, didn't ya? Didn't ya? Well, you didn't. So, anyway, old boy mentioned another title, a HBO title, that he said was one of his favourite shows. And the thing is, I mentioned on a few podcasts and a few videos, I'm a HBO fanatic. I've loved most of their shows. I think they do quality TV programming, and people say that they are the epitome of great television. So, when old boy mentioned that there was a show in the early 2000s that was critically acclaimed, was maybe too ambitious, and people loved it, but it never completed, it got my curiosity, because personally, I don't need something to be completed. If it's great, if it had great storytelling, I want to check it out. And that show, ladies and gentlemen, as you can probably see in the title, is called Carnivale, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, I believe that's right. I think they always say like Carnivale.
Carnivale. Carnivale was a 2001 HBO fantasy drama supernatural series that was only for 2 seasons. It got cancelled after season 2, and you said it was one of your favorites, oh boy, and I just recently watched it, and we haven't spoken about it. We wanted to get on the podcast. I'll give you my thoughts. I'll hear your thoughts on it because you wanted to elaborate on it. And if you look online, there isn't a lot of people having a discussion about it. So we're going to fill that void, guys. If you've never heard of Carnivale, hopefully we're going to give you. This might be a bit spoilery, but I don't feel we need to actually get into points because the show has a somewhat of an ambiguous storyline. In a sense, well, we'll get to that, but I will just say we're not going to get into too much spoilers. We will have a discussion about what we like, dislike, and how we think about it because it's a thinking man show. It's very, you know what? Oh boy, on our last podcast, you said you preferred if I gave my rating at the beginning, so why don't I give my rating now for Carnivale?
Sure.
I'll give Carnivale a solid B, and I wish I could give it higher, but I'll get into the reasons why I can't. But now let's go through this systematically, guys, just in case you have no idea what Carnivale is. Catface, do you want to give the synopsis for what Carnivale is? Because I could do it, but I want to hear you do it, because this is a favourite of yours.
It is a favorite. Actually, for television, it's my all-time favorite show, even up to today. It's remained my favorite show, and it's because it's a really great story. What Carnivale is about is, in the most simplest terms, it's a constant battle each generation to generation. And as you know, I'm a fan of longer running storylines, of multi-generational storylines. So every generation has one avatar of good and one avatar of evil, and they struggle, and they try to tip the balance in their side's favor. And ultimately that's all it is through each generation it's a struggle of good versus evil.
I would agree that's at the bottom layer. But on the top layer, it's called Carnivale for a reason, because it focuses on two parallel storylines. But let's start with the first parallel, which you're kind of introduced to. Is this young man who comes across a carnival after his mother passes away. He's got really nothing going for him. He's got no property.
Yeah, he literally has nothing. Like, the bank foreclosed on their property, and in the opening episode, they bulldoze his home.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, this is a period piece, by the way. It's set in the time of the Depression. I think it's set, I don't want to, it's, Boardwalk Empire is set about 4 or 5 years after this, so there's a similar time frame.
No, it's the other way around. Boardwalk Empire is the roaring 20s during the Prohibition. The Great Depression was during the 30s.
Oh, after Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah, it's after. It looks so much different because Boardwalk Empire is over on the East Coast where everything's developed, and this is the story starts out in the Midwest, but it moves towards California.
Glad we got you here to correct my mistake. And that's what makes it even more interesting. I thought it was before, it's after. That's even better because, like you said, it's set. I knew it was set on the other side though, so that was really cool. And like we just said, this kid's lost everything, and he comes across this carnival, and there's some mysterious elements to this kid. He's got some kind of powers or something. And this carnival, a carnival is got circus people in of different talents. I don't want to be politically incorrect, but I will say they're freaks.
I don't think it's much of a spoiler because they show in the first episode that he has some kind of healing powers
Yeah,
on a great scale.
true, true. But yeah, he goes across this car. He joins this carnival, and in the carnival, is a small man or a midget, however you want to say it. There's a bearded lady. There's kind of these showgirls. There's it's a clang of very fruitful, colorful characters. And the show, like I said, it's 2 seasons. And you know what? Let me just kind of go through my perspective because I don't want to bore you people. I found this show to be very compelling. I heard it was a good drama, and I really bought into it because, like I said, it's a parallel story following the carnival side. I was like, wow, what's going on with this kid? It had a mystery element to it. This kid's got these powers, but he seems very reluctant to use them, and he just seems very frantic. He has these crazy dreams. He's sweating. There's a lot of angst with him. And the carnival, they're just carnival folk. There's a lot of weird things going on with the carnival. But the thing that makes us doubly interesting is the other side of the story. We've got this minister. And this minister is leading a small congregation. It seems like he wants to do the right thing. But he's also having these weird dreams and he's exhibiting different kind of powers. Different from the boys and not as straightforward. But it's kind of weird. And you mentioned it was good versus evil, but when you get into it, I didn't really know what was going on. I was just thought, one half is a carnival, one half was this minister, and they're both. I knew these two were related because they had dreams that were tied to each other, and it did seem to be a good and evil thing. And let me just go through the first season at first. The first season kept up the mystery, kept up the intrigue, and the first season did a great job of keeping me engaged because the preacher's story, or sorry, the minister's storyline, it's very straightforward to be honest with you. You can kind of see exactly where things are going with him. It seems like things are going on a very straight line, a very simple incline. The boy on the other hand with the carnival, he he kind of annoyed me more because, lack of a better term, he's kind of fighting his fate.
He's to me a very good example, maybe even a perfect example of the unwilling hero.
Sure, sure. And the carnival folk kept me interested because they were running a carnival, they were meeting people. I got to see the inner workers of a carnival. So just the setting of a carnival was interesting. Then you've got these two people with powers, so it engaged me on a whole. And I just want to say the acting is superb.
Yeah, HBO used to be where it's at. I don't know about the more recent stuff, but back when I actually watched TV, they always had really good shows. Carnival was probably, the one of the better ones, I think. But the acting is superb. They casted extremely well. Like Game of Thrones, a lot of money went into this, but at a time where they didn't do that kind of stuff. The reason why the show ended is because they spent too much money on the casting, on the set, on the clothes. When you watch it, you really do feel like you're in the Great Depression.
Definitely. Definitely. And you know what? I want to talk about it in the end, but I watched the behind the scenes. I saw a lot of cast interviews. So, just like you said, after I watched it, I was disappointed with the story ending. I wanted more, but like you alluded to, when you find out what happened with the real life issues with the production and the money and stuff, But getting on like the first season, I will say things I enjoyed: action, cinematography, the mystery, very engaging. Things I didn't like on the whole was this show is very. I'm gonna use a kind of a harsh word. I feel like it's a little bit unforgiving in how much they wanna disclose to you about the mythology, what's actually going on. Because, like I said, watching it, I was thinking, what is this show really about? Really about? Because it did seem to be about good and evil. I think that's pretty clear. But who's the good one? Who's the evil one? I don't really need that to be spoon fed to me. But there's some things or some characters in the storyline were very vague. And for the first season, when the first season ended, I felt to myself, well, the one storyline with the minister had made a lot of progress and a lot of it had a very substantial growth, and I could clearly see where that was going. The boy on the carnival, he, unwilling hero, I will take that to an extreme because I just felt like, as a story, I like the fact he's fighting his fate, like I said, and he doesn't want to do what everyone's telling him to do, which does kind of play true to a young person in angst or just not being one told or do this, do that. I mean, it makes sense and I can buy that, but it's the mythology that I didn't understand. Like, what kind of I did a lot of background research to find out this after the fact, but when I was watching it, I felt like the show was very unforgiving on clarifying exactly what part of religion or what kind of evil this is, because we can be very general with religious and demons stuff like that, but this show tells you this is specific, and certain characters come up that know things specifically about what's going on. But watching the show was frustrating to me because I felt like they purposefully kept you out of the loop, where the main character is showing you that frustration. He doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and I was frustrated as well. But that is another source of engagement for me. So it was a push and pull. I'm frustrated that I ain't getting all the answers, but I'm still watching. But I will say it wasn't done in a hammy way where I felt like they were taking the piss with me or they were just. It wasn't that lost.
I think you know what I honestly think is they have planned on explaining it in the future.
They did, and I was gonna get to that in season two because, yeah, the first season for me, and so I'm not. I'm just because you've seen it. I just wanted to give you my thoughts first, and
Don't worry about it. Go for it, dude.
yeah, so first season, really enjoyed it, but I was very frustrated not understanding the mythology. I wanted those answers, and I wasn't. And on the preacher side, the minister side, everything was laid out very clearly. Honestly, you can see where he's going, clear as day, even from the first season. It's just from the boy's side with his father and people telling him, and even people in the carnival that seem to know what's going on, like the person in the coach, the management, and it's like there's so many vague elements that I was like, by the end of the first season, they didn't answer a lot on the one side, but on the minister side, I was engaged. But for the first season on the whole, I was engaged, and I was like, you know what? I definitely want to see what stopped this show from proceeding. Second season now, I'll move on. And after the fact, I heard that there was a lot of problem, like even a lot of people were complaining the same things I just said. And I felt like in the second season, everything I just complained about, they kind of addressed because the main character, it actually felt a little bit unnatural how he kind of adjusted. Because halfway through the second season, it's not that he accepts his fate, but everything ramps up. And I felt like, okay, this show feels like it's trying to push to its conclusion. And it's probably because I knew that it was going to be cancelled, and it felt that way.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was, to be honest with you, I liked the pace in the second season better than the first. But that's because they started handing me the answers, not in a very like superficial way. They did it in. I just felt like, you know what, I like the pace better in the second season. I like the second season more. Even the climax of the second season had a very good finale ending. Something very, very big happened at the end. And I was satisfied to a point that, you know what, I got a lot from the show. They explained more of the mythology, but still not all of it. And by the end, I will say I enjoyed Carnival. I think it's a really good show. I think it was very ambitious. And I'll let you talk, old boy. I was impressed. And just the last thing I'll say is, after watching the cast interviews and the series producers and directors talk about it, this was meant to be a 6-season show.
Yeah, dude. I read that too. I was like, oh, I would love to have those 4 other seasons.
And considering how they did the first season, it makes sense now. Now I'm like, okay, you had the slow burn, and in the second season, they were under fire from the network, and they had to speed things up, and then it just got cancelled. And then, there's even a script apparently that he even told people how it would have went. And there was going to be a time skip and stuff, and I was like,
Yeah, well, like I said, multi-generational story. So at some point, the preacher and the carny guy were going to go past their generation.
damn right, this is too ambitious.
Yeah, definitely ambitious. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
but guys, I did enjoy the show. I'll get into a little bit of nitpicks later, but yeah, that's my overall thought. I think it's an enjoyable show, and even though it got cancelled before it finished up, honestly, the 2 seasons gave me a lot of food for thought. And you know what? Actually, you know what kept on ringing in my mind while I was watching the show? What one name do you think came into my mind as I was watching the show?
Me?
No, Stephen King.
Stephen King.
Yeah, it kept
Stephen
us
King.
Stephen King because it kept on reminding me of The Stand, the good and evil. It kept on reminding
Oh,
me
I
like,
never saw The Stand.
okay, The Stand has very a lot of similarities to this, but obviously it has a completely different setting. It's more kind of post-apocalyptic as well. But to me, I've seen Stephen King and even that writer, I can't remember his name. I put it on the screen if I can remember. But there's a writer who does a lot of supernatural stories that hit on stuff like this. Man, this show was a little bit before its time. I don't think this show would be cancelled if it was done now.
Yeah, that's something I want to talk about. Is not this second. I'll get to it, but I would really love to see the show come back.
Yeah, people like ambitious, long-running stories. I think this fits the bill, and I don't think I'm waiting to too many spoilers. But I know some people will be thrown off by saying it doesn't end. But honestly, I will say watch it because it focuses on the carnival, it focuses on the depression, it focuses on very unique characters that I've watched a lot of HBO shows. I really haven't seen anything like this to this day, especially with the execution, the production value. It's 10 years old, over 10 years old, but it still looks really good.
It looks like something that would come out today.
It does. It looks really good. And I watched the Blu-ray rips as well because it got released in HD. So guys, I would say check out Carnival. I got some more quibbles, but I just went on my little ramble about how I feel about it. And now I want the Catface Killer to tell me how he felt about Carnival and and your relationship with the show.
When I was around that age, I didn't watch a whole lot of TV. TV shows. I usually watched movies. So, I mean, to say that it was my favorite back then doesn't mean a whole lot compared to now, since before we started the project and up to this point where I've watched way more TV.
Sure.
But it's like where to start. Personally speaking, especially because you see this a lot like anime and manga, I fucking hate having stuff beat over my head nonstop. Hey, you forget this, you forget this, forget this, you forget this guy's like this. Why is he like this? Let me show you like the seventh time in 5 episodes. This is why he's like this. I fucking hate that shit. Carnival's the exact opposite of that. You have to stick with it. They don't promise you anything, but they will reveal most of the things over time. And I like that kind of storytelling more. It's a more patient, more time, not even necessarily time, but more of an investment on the viewer's part. It's not super fast popcorny bullshit as we said before. It's an experience, and it's a longer one. What I liked about Carnival the most is if I were to say anything, if I were to use a one-word description, it's different. It's not the same as anything else. Even to this day, it's not really the same as most things out there. It stands out, and it stands out in a good way. The acting is superb, as we've talked about, and they casted great. They said, this guy looks like he's going to fit the role. Let's test his acting. His acting's great. We're going to cast that guy. And they did that for everybody, even the minor characters. You can tell as you watch it, especially back when, they were trying to do shows on the cheap and everything. You pay for what you get. And they went out and they wanted the best quality of stuff. They wanted the best quality of settings, music, acting, the way it looked on every level. It really does feel like you're right there going through the journey of the two characters yourself. It really draws you in that manner. I also like when it comes to mysteries, like I was saying, I don't like stuff just handed to me. I want the story to make me have to experience it to get answers. I don't want something that begs for me to do it. I want something that just says, this is the way the story's going. You either stick with it or you don't, and you may get answers. And that's what Carnival is.
Yeah, it did it in a good way. Like I said, it could have done it in a very like a mouse to the cheese. Come on, come on, that stringing you along. But it did feel natural. I didn't ever feel cheated. And in the second season, they really did give me a lot of the payoff that that made up for season one. But I wouldn't even say made up for it. And like I said before, season one and two feels a little bit off kilter because one, it's not leisurely, but it's a very slow pace. Season two, I felt the ramp up. I felt like I felt like they've pushing themselves to go faster than they want to.
Yeah.
But I was happy with that because I kind of wanted that. But I felt like it feels like they're doing this because they have to, not because they want to, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it's business, and I understand that. And for me, it made the second season more enjoyable, and it gave me confidence that okay, these guys knew what they were doing. To be honest with you,
There
so
was a plan, yeah.
yeah, and like I said, after watching the reviews and interviews and stuff like that, I was it's just kind of a shame. This was super ambitious, and only after reading the script because I had to. If you get to the end of this, you're gonna want to know because we might have to get into a little bit of spoiler, oh boy. But there was some things I was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, man?
We'll
What's up
we'll
with that
get
guy?
into the spoilers towards the end because I've read some of the script as well. I mean, I didn't go and dig through everybody's files in their basements and stuff, but I've looked into it because, like I said, it's my favorite show of all time.
Hmm.
It's just it's a great story. When you're watching TV and it's not like a sitcom or something, you're supposed to be experiencing a story. When you watch TV, when you watch a movie, when you read a book, if it's anything but comedy, really, you should be experiencing a story. And this show is something that makes you experience its story on a great level.
Can I mention something by the way, just to cut in there?
Sure.
HBO usually hire actors that are kind of well known. In the 2000s, they were making HBO is a kind of network that turns people to movie stars. A lot of people have moved on from HBO, like the guy from Sopranos, and even the woman from Sopranos. A lot of people from Sopranos moved on to bigger things actually. But the one guy that's like, wow, man, the preacher himself, that guy, that was the guard from the Shawshank Redemption, wasn't it?
It was the guard, yeah, the main captain.
Yeah, and he is phenomenal in this show.
Speaking of Shawshank Redemption, my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
He's a good actor. He's a really good actor. Most of the guys they picked, even for minor roles, great actors.
I loved seeing him. As soon as I saw him, though, that gave me a lot of. I was like, wow, he's in this, and I never heard of the show. But even him as an actor, I'm not going to say he's a very well-known actor, but because he's been in such a prolific, loved movie, as soon as I saw him, I was like, whoa, and he's sort of the antagonist. And I was like, okay, this is fucking awesome. So that really brought my confidence up as well. And phenomenal. There isn't a bad actor in the show. Period.
Yeah, there. I really can't think of anybody that's like, their acting was sucky. They should have got somebody else. Like when you watch it, you don't even think about that stuff. You're just paying attention to the story.
You got anything else you want to elaborate on before I push forward? Because I want to get into the spoilery section. And there's one nitpick I want to bring up. That there's
Man,
one
you're
thing I
really
didn't
dying
like.
to get into spoilers.
Not really. Not to be honest, I don't have a lot to say in the spoilers, but there's just one nitpick I want to bring up. But I want you to finish your part anyway, because I went on forever.
That's okay. Wow, I feel like I'm being put on the spot now, even though I was just talking for so much.
Sorry, mate.
You know what I like the most though is it's not just like a drama. There is some supernatural to it that gives some flair to the mystery of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm agnostic. I'm not Christian, but there's a lot of Christian theology in it. And even as somebody that doesn't necessarily believe in that, I believe it could be possible. But as somebody that doesn't believe in that faith specifically, the fact that that's the type of supernatural element they added to it, which is, I would say, even up to today, not a whole lot of that's going on in TV shows.
Because it's a touchy subject, man. Religion.
So it is a touchy subject, but the fact that they used that, and personally to me, I'm neutral towards it, and I found that fascinating. It was one of the parts of Carnivale that was interesting to try to learn about through the show. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I completely agree. But that was also part of my cynicism with the show.
Was it?
Yeah. Like I said, it wasn't vague. That's what bothered me. It wasn't vague in its mythology. It was very specific. And I have to bring up a point. There was one character in the show just showed me how specific this is. There was one character that was helping the antagonist that came out of nowhere that seemed to know exactly the path he was meant to take.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the dude that was a prisoner.
Not him. He was being used. Not him. I'm talking about there was a guy who gave the guy the book.
Oh right, the dude that was wearing glasses.
Yes, him. He seemed to know exactly what was going on, and that kind of bothered me because everyone else in the show, even the antagonist and the main guy, even they're somewhat confused to their role in the bigger part. But there's people outside of that, like the manager, like
But the manager. If we're getting into spoilers
no,
now,
we're
the
not yet.
manager
We're not
was
yet. We're not
previous
yet.
generation good guy.
Yeah, but like I said, but they don't. Like I said, it's so specific. Because what they're talking about is very specific. The circle, the chain. It doesn't feel like just good and evil because they start talking about rituals and certain things that have to be done. And when shows are bringing up specific rituals and stuff like that, it always ties back to a specific mythology or a certain type of religion, and they never really tell you what it is. Obviously, you can do your research, you can look up on that stuff, which is fine, which I'm sure is what you liked about it. But for me, it kind of annoyed me because I wanted them to explain it a little bit more. But one character knows all this, or some characters know, and then most of the characters don't. It bothers me. That kind of thing bothers me. I kind of like it to be completely ambiguous, or I just don't like
All
characters.
or nothing.
Yeah, I don't like characters that pop in that know everything and that can help someone get a leg up because the guy was coming in and giving this guy a leg up,
He was, yeah.
and no one was really helping the other guy. He did get help here and there, but this guy was giving this guy direct, very valuable information. And on top of that, his was a clearer path. The priest part was very clear as a story narrative as well. The boy was having all these dreams. He was completely lost. He couldn't get guide. Even the people that were guiding him were fucking around with him.
Yeah, they were very tight with the information they gave him. But you know what I love about this dovetail, which is when you have two separate stories that connect eventually,
Yeah,
is that they made it so that one guy embraced it, and because he embraced it, he got help. The other guy was very unwilling, like the most unwilling guy in the world, and because of that, he really was kind of alone. He was a loner because of it, even with the help he got.
I can half agree with that. What you're saying is true for the most part, but the character I'm talking about in the beginning, he came out of nowhere.
He did, yeah, he really did.
So, but it's a minor quibble, and to be honest with you, it doesn't take away from the story that much. But the show could have been just as good without him. I just felt like it was a little bit. It's like this guy is giving this guy too much of a leg up. But I love the story.
Yeah, he showed up. He gave him like it seriously was like a really big advantage. I think it was like a book or something,
He gave
wasn't
him a
it?
book. He gave him an instruction manual. This is what you
Yeah,
have to do to fuck this guy up. And I was like, what? And even the guy didn't understand where the book came from. You never really found out about too much about the guy because he exited the show anyway. But I was like, what was that about? But then the show might have, like we said, might have come back to it and explained where he came from later. Because again, it was a very ambitious show that kind of kept his cards close to his chest, and maybe throughout the years, season, we would have got to see it. But like honestly, guys, it's a minor quibble. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but it's a minor quibble. If you watch the show, you might agree with me. If you don't, obviously let us know in the comments down below. But either way, that's the only quibble I really have, to be honest with you, boy. Other than that, overall, I like the show. Disappointed that it got cancelled prematurely, but to be honest with you, 2000 at the time, the way the network and TV business was, this show got a hell of. I don't think shows were getting these kind of chances, especially the first season. Look, put it this way, I'm surprised it got a season two, considering the first season was so slow.
yeah. But could you even imagine? You probably binge watched this, right?
Sure.
Can you imagine watching it week to week? I think that's why it got canceled and why it should come back, because nowadays everybody binge watches.
Yeah.
It's the perfect show to binge watch. If you watch this like one episode a week, you're gonna hate us for trying to talk it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100% agree. And that's why I was surprised it was even a season two. But I like HBO. It just shows. To be honest with you, this show commends HBO on a creative level. It shows me that HBO from early days, 10, 12 years ago, they were willing to take chances with storylines. And if you look through their back catalogue, you can see they've always done very unconventional stories. Now, to be honest with you, Carnival still stands out as very special because of supernatural, fantasy, religious show, and they haven't done anything like that since. Game of Thrones is fantasy, it's different. They don't have, most of their shows are based on reality, crazy stories, crime stories, or very anti-heroish characters. That's kind of HBO's thing. They don't do genre per se. So that's another reason why this show stands out as something to be checked out, because HBO don't do a lot of stuff like this. Game of Thrones, Carnival, I can't even think of another one that would have done something very genre-ish, very specific, that's
Yeah.
not based in reality. So
You know what HBO likes is they like time period pieces. They don't like genre pieces. They like
yeah,
time periods.
yeah. exactly what I say. But yeah, you know what? Oh, we're not going to get into spoilers because I want to I want to talk to you about spoilers off the cast. But this. I want this to be a recording where we get people to check out the show because people, it's worth checking out. There are shows that have been cancelled in the past that I would say don't watch it because it doesn't really blossom. This show, there's a lot of different reasons I say check it out. It deals with a different concept. It has good acting. The concept, to be honest with you, the concept and the way they wrote the story as a parallel story, a religious supernatural parallel story with two opposing figures. People say it's a story about good versus evil. If you sell it to someone like that and they watch it in the beginning, it might not seem that way.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "What the hell are these guys talking about?"
Yeah, so I don't really like to say it ultimately does turn out that way, but I like Carnival as the name. I would like to say it's a show about a carnival and all the mystery surrounding the carnival and people at the time. Yeah, it's got some mystery, it's got some elements of religion and supernatural and stuff like that. But honestly, guys, we didn't get too much in the characters, especially the carnival characters, but even the character stuff. Let's put aside all the religious, all the superficial or super natural stuff. The characters and the acting and just the character drama is really, really good.
It's fantastic. You know why? Part of the reason why it's slower is because even with minor characters, they give they give them depth. They give them some time to show you how they develop or why they're like this. And they give them time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not just the preacher, the carny guy. The story's all about them.
Yeah.
These people, especially with the mentality of the storytelling for the roles they have in humanity's future and destiny, they have to be connected to people around them, and it shows. They're not just there for a reason to help out the either one. The antagonist, the protagonist,
Yeah.
and then that's it. They're people, and they show you that they're people.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask Old Boy's question in a minute. I just want to let you guys know if you've watched the show. I want you guys to know my favorite character is what's his? I just watched the show and I can't remember his name. All right, guys, what I want to say is that my favorite character in the show was Jonesy. I don't want to get too much into his past, but I do want to say he starts off being one thing, a very simple-minded character you might not even like. But by the end of the show, he had a lot of heart, man. I really love this guy.
He was really putting himself at risk, big time, multiple times.
Love that guy, man. Absolutely love that guy. And in the second season, I like the main character. I didn't really like him to be honest in the beginning. I empathized with him because I actually felt sorry for him in the situation, especially with his past with his mother and stuff, and his own situation felt a bit like a curse. I can actually understand that. But in the second season, when he kind of settled down and kind of, I don't want to say accepted his fate, but kind of got into his own character and he
When
got
he
his
stopped
mind.
struggling as much with it.
Yeah, I really liked him. He was very dead short, very strong, headstrong, and at the end of season 2, he has a great head-to-head. And yeah, man. So I just want to end my part on saying that really like the characters, really great show. It's got so much different things. This is a show of variety on the character level, on the story-driven level. There's a lot, and honestly, it's not the worst cliffhanger ending I've ever seen in a series that got cancelled. Let me end on that.
It's like, you know what it is though. It's a great place to pick up from, and it's in there's like a time skip.
Yes, I 100% agree. The script of it was going to be a time skip. This will be a perfect place to even. I know you might be against this, even get new characters to pick up the slack and go forward.
Well, I mean, at this point, yeah, you have to. Some of these actors actually died, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I did hear. Yeah, so but that's my final wrap up, man. Let's hear your wrap up for the conversation.
yeah. You know what Carnival is its layers, and it's also opposites. The antagonist and the protagonist are complete opposites. Even the way the story is told about each of them, the dovetail, both halves are opposites. It's great. I really love it. They do it in a manner that isn't, it's not the same as everybody else. It's different. It stands out. It's on a better level than what's out there, even to today, I would say. And when it comes to the way season 1 is versus season 2, we live in the generation of binge watching. Get through season 1, and if you're a little hesitant, especially if you feel like not enough was answered, I mean, listen to Don Wunder. He got a lot of stuff in season 2, and even though it ends on a cliffhanger, It's actually, even if they never bring it back, which I hope doesn't happen, I want them to bring it back. It is actually an okay ending. It's not the
Yeah,
greatest, it's not the ideal one, but for a 2 season journey, it's a good enough ending.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not like a Battle Angel Alita ending, but it's not like a piece of shit ending.
No, 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 no. Like I said, I've seen a lot of shows completely ambiguous. This isn't ambiguous. You know the clear direction of where things are heading. You just wanted to see where it would end. But honestly, it's completely fine. They could definitely pick this up in the future. I kind of hope they do. And you know, I already said it was a solid B show for me, only because it didn't end. And assuming it's in your Hall of Fame. Am I right?
Oh yeah, it's well, I mean, it's my favorite. It has to be.
Just making sure. But anyway, guys, that's the discussion. We've nearly hit the 40-minute mark, so we're going to wrap it up. Guys, if you've watched Carnivale, let us know in the comments down below. Do you agree? Did you get through the first 2 seasons and think it was a masterpiece, or do you think it just got cancelled when it should have been and it wasted your goddamn time and you don't know why we're talking about it? We're talking about it because we actually like it. I think it's actually worth checking out. I'm actually going to post this podcast on the Carnival subreddit on Reddit because that's where I'm going to find the most people. Because I did some pre-checking, there isn't a lot of people talking about Carnival, so I'm going to put it on the subreddit. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link in the description below. But guys, we're gonna wrap it up here. You can get my buddy who joined me, who actually got me into the show. Thank you, my man, for getting me into the show. Where can they reach you and tell you thank you or complain at you, bitch at you about getting them into the show? Where can they get to you at?
You can curse me out on Twitter at the underscore old boy, and you know you're welcome, dude.
Hashtag Katface Killa!
Hashtag Katface Killa!
And you can get me at Planet Tyro, guys. Hit us up on Twitter. Leave a comment down below. See us on our Facebook fan page, which is everly growing. Guys, we want to thank you for all the subscribers, all the likes. Share the video if you know anyone that likes Carnival, or if you think someone should watch it. Here too, guys, praise it because it is that good. But we're gonna bitch about another show, do another recording right now, and check that one out. We're not gonna tell you what it is, so check out on the channel, be a subscriber, and you'll find out. But until then, this is Don Wunder and the Catface Killer saying, see you later.
See ya.
More umph!
See ya.
See
See ya.
ya.